Hello, welcome back to our channel. Today we're jumping into the 13th episode of Love Potion, and oh boy, this one is a real masterclass in what happens when a whole lot of money, a massive ego, and a very clumsy attempt at romance all collide. Let's break down what just happened. So we're kicking things off with a focus on Ben Smith, a guy whose bank account is about as big as his ego. And as you're about to see, he's on a mission that he thinks is going to be super simple. Ben is the textbook rich kid, right? And you've got to understand, for him, it's not just about having money, it's a whole worldview. He truly believes his status is a golden ticket to get anyone and anything he wants. And that entitlement is on full display as he pulls up to Sophia house, absolutely convinced he can't possibly fail. But right when he's about to celebrate his so-called victory, bam, he hits a roadblock. And I mean a literal human roadblock. There's a man standing in the street, and this one tiny inconvenience is enough to completely wreck Ben's entire mood. It really shows you what a short fuse this guy has. So Ben immediately starts sizing this guy up. And wow, the contrast could not be more obvious. It's like two different worlds colliding right there on the pavement. And what's wild is just how fast and how brutal Ben's judgment is. He doesn't see a person, he just sees a stereotype. An eyesore that doesn't belong in his perfect, polished world. And James, he plays it so cool. He has this look of total innocence, like he has no idea why Ben is so mad. But, get this, inside his head, he's totally making fun of Ben, comparing his hairstyle to a rooster. It's this little detail that shows us right away that James is way, way smarter than he looks. Okay, so the silent stare down is over. Now we get to see what happens when these two big egos go head-to-head in a pretty hostile showdown. Ben just loses it. He can't handle being laughed at, not for a second. And notice his first move? He immediately goes for the class card, using the price of his car as a weapon to try and make James feel small. It's such a classic move for someone's whole identity is wrapped up in what he owns. And this is where James completely flips the script. We see his true character shine through, and it's all based on something his grandfather taught him, that self-respect isn't just for the rich. By demanding an apology, he's not just standing up for himself, he's challenging Ben's entire way of thinking. Apologize? To him? The idea is so ridiculous to Ben that he just laughs. I mean, in his world, people like James apologize to people like him, not the other way around. His laughter isn't just arrogance, it's how he tries to put the world back in the order he thinks it should be. Okay, and this is where things get really serious. We go from name-calling to a real physical threat in like 0 seconds flat. Ben goes to his trunk and pulls out a baseball bat. He's showing us that if his money and his words don't work, he has absolutely no problem using brute force. Ben whips out the classic bully line, right? The desperate, "Do you know who I am?" But James doesn't even flinch. He just calls him a rude little kid, which is maybe the best comeback ever, because it just completely deflates Ben's whole tough guy act. And oh boy, being called a kid, that was the one button you shouldn't push. We see a really dark side to Ben here. The narration tells us he's actually thinking about how fun it would be to hurt James. The whole scene gets incredibly tense, and you're just on the edge of your seat, waiting to see if he's actually going to swing that bat. And just when you think it's all about to go down, a voice just cuts through the air and everything stops. Sophia's here, and her arrival is like something out of a play. But trust me, she's about to make things way more complicated, not less. And who is it? It's Sophia, the whole reason Ben is even here. And just like that, all that violent rage, poof, it's gone, replaced by him just staring at her completely love-struck. It's such a crazy switch, but it tells you everything you need to know about how shallow this guy is. And that so-called infatuation gets creepy really fast. His inner thoughts immediately go to a pretty gross place. He's not thinking about her personality, let's just say that. He reduces her to her body parts, and it tells you a ton about how he views women in general. So you think she's here to stop the fight, right? Wrong. Here's the hilarious part. She's actually annoyed at James for being late for their meeting. This just throws a total wrench in everything. Who is this guy that he has a meeting with the very girl Ben is obsessed with? And there's our answer. James is her new bodyguard. Well, that explains pretty much everything. and it sets up this really fascinating and probably very awkward dynamic between the three of them going forward. And talk about irony, Sophia's biggest worry isn't that her bodyguard almost got his head bashed in with a bat. Nope. It's that his shabby clothes might ruin her reputation. And that's key, because it shows that, in her own way, she's just as concerned with appearances as Ben is. Ben is clearly thrown by this whole Sophia and James connection, but he recovers pretty fast. He sees this as his chance to swoop in, reestablish that he's the top dog, and finally win her over. So, let's see how that works out for him. So Ben goes into full-on charm mode. He slicks back his rooster hair, flashes what he thinks is a charming smile, and introduces himself, completely oblivious. It's actually amazing, the massive gap between how Ben sees himself and how everybody else sees him. You know, for a guy like Ben, being ignored is way worse than being hated. And that's exactly what Sophia does. She barely even remembers who he is. Her total lack of interest just completely torpedoes his ego. And honestly, it's pretty satisfying to watch. So when charm fails, he goes to plan B, his wallet. But this so-called master plan is just so cringy. It's a checklist of all his expensive stuff. He's not trying to connect with her as a person. He's trying to impress her with his assets. And finally, James, who's just been watching this whole train wreck unfold, delivers the perfect verdict. He just calls it what it is, a super clumsy way to try and pick up girls. His one simple line just cuts through all of Ben's nonsense and gets right to the truth of it all. If you like the story, please like and share it and subscribe to the channel to watch future episodes. Thanks for watching.